going on, folks?
Oh.
We're here. We're alive. We're the Bourbonists. Well, 2/3 of the Bourbonists.
You should be proud of me. I had about 3 different things I wanted to say, but I kept my mouth shut.
Apologies. Brought to you by none other than Investment Whiskey. And our new sponsor just re-upped, but in a different way. Infinity Restorations. So
I could kiss you, Shane. I don't even know you. But he does.
yeah, Shane would help you pick your teeth up off the floor.
All I'm saying is I'm not, but I could. Not saying it would end well for me, but I could.
Probably.
All I'm trying to say is we appreciate you.
We appreciate you, Shane. So let's dive right in. Oh, sorry. I'm all over the place tonight, aren't I? So we're smoking
Oh, I was like, where the hell is this going?
the blue cheese from Privada.
We're smoking blue cheese.
We're smoking the blue cheese, which is a really cool, like, zoom in. I don't feel like it. Wrapper.
Does it do that?
It's a...
Can you tell it to zoom in and it'll do it?
Oh, no. That would be cool, though.
Make a camera that does that.
Yeah, no kidding. There's probably a camera somewhere that does that.
Make a better one.
But it's got the wrapper's really cool. It's a $100 bill. Minus Ben's face, of course. Because you can't copyright. And fantastic. This is like a kind of a staple in the Privada line. So good.
And see, like, right now, at least, and I'm actually getting close to almost like the first third. So I'm past like your first couple puffs. And the first couple puffs, I think I think it was a little toast heavy, a little char. Yeah. But now I'm getting into like, it's a very clean, light bread.
Yeah.
Bread notes.
Look at that ash too. My goodness. That's a perfect burn.
Clean. Yep. And I lit it like a mongoloid too. So like, this is great.
Like a Neanderthal.
Like a real dumbass.
Like a Homo sapien.
Hey, moron.
And then we're sipping on, oh boy, because tonight's the first time I've tried this. It's the Chattanooga whiskey Cask Strength, Tennessee High Malt.
We're joining on a little frozen rose.
Yeah, that's right.
Got a little frozen rose sitting there to kind of keep us cool because it's hot.
Yeah, it's hot outside. Everybody knows that right now.
Well, some people may listen to this in the winter and they're like, it's not hot out now.
Yeah, well, then those people are behind.
What was that thing you just did with your tongue?
Everybody listen to that.
So we're diving in, huh?
So anyway, speaking of that, good segue. So we're talking about mental health.
Exhibit A and B.
And Exhibit A, B, all the way to freaking Z.
Well, you are Exhibit A because your name is Adam Adams. So, like, you're Exhibit AA.
But June is men's mental health awareness month. We haven't really mentioned it on episodes. This month has been kind of a crazy ride because our first episode wasn't an episode; it was a vlog of us going to the Hungry Herfit, which is actually where we got these cigars at Cigaro.
Yes, sir.
Sup, fellas?
Check the PEC logo.
And yeah, we're going to be doing
PEC's a loose term for me right now.
We have a sponsorship with them as well now. and we're going to be doing some really cool stuff with them. I'm really excited, so look forward to that.
It sounds like they are too.
Yeah.
It's awesome to kind of be in unity with.
Oh man,
wanting
and
to do stuff with each other.
Cool. They're such a good group of people.
Mm-hmm.
They were. When I dropped the vlog, they were all over it, just commenting. Thank you so much for coming, and they were eager to get my phone number so we could figure out something. And then shout out to Steve. I don't know how to say his last name, so I'm going to say Dan Cheese.
Steve Dan Cheese.
It's spelled Danchise, I believe. And Danchise?
Sure.
Danchise. Steve Danchise. But he reached out.
Danchise.
Young Steve.
Yes.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, you should watch the vlog. Anyway.
There you go. Throw up in the mic. If you don't know what we're talking about, check this out.
So I'm just going to actually, this is how we should start. We've already started. But this is the preface I'm going to say. Dan and I are old buddies. We're going to just speak our minds. And whatever freaking comes out, comes out. We're just going to hang out, talk about mental health. How do we deal with it? But we're a couple of wild ones.
Okay,
so
this episode is a little less structured than normal, which means this is literally you are joining us as this is a typical hangout for us.
Yeah.
So if we're hanging out and the camera's not rolling, this is going to be a lot like that.
Yep.
Except there is a topic at hand, which is our mental health struggles.
Correct. This is the last episode, and I know I said that we've already started season 4, but we haven't. This is the last episode of season 3. So it's kind of this season finale. We're just hanging out, a couple of buddies. Joseph couldn't join us, which that's not a problem. He's got his family, and that's great.
His wife is pregnant.
She is very pregante.
How do you get pregante?
Es tu pregante. Is my wife can get pregnant?
Not with that attitude.
If you don't know what we're talking about, go watch the video. It's awesome. Not our video. It's online somewhere. I don't even know what it's called.
Well,
different ways to say pregnant, or stupid people comment pregnancy questions. I don't know. But yeah, we're kind of all over the place with this episode. In the month of July, we're going to have one really, really important episode. It'll probably be broken into 2 parts. But that one I'm really looking forward to. And then, of course, we'll have our Billy G's episode. So actually, we're not really taking a huge break, but it'll be a couple weeks off. Because there's 5 Wednesdays. So we release every Wednesday. There's 5 Wednesdays in July. So there'll be more vlogs coming up. We're going to restructure some things, kind of talk, figure things out, what we want to do moving forward. Obviously, gaining traction is not a problem. Which, by the way, tell your friends and family about us, will you? I mean, we want this to be a career eventually. And we can't do that without your help. I sound like an NBC PSA. Do you like listening to podcasts? Do you? Do you like mental health? Do you like listening to a few suckers just spew things from their mouth holes?
Their suck holes?
Then tell your friends and family about the Bourbonist.
Do you want to know what it sounds like when 3 guys talk about when things go wrong? And what I mean by things go wrong in front of the camera. Well, then listen to us. Mm-hmm. And if you don't want to, then don't. But leave us alone.
But also, I will tell you, we've gotten good feedback. If you want to know.
From our moms.
That's not even true.
In fact,
your mom loves us. My mom is like, yeah, I'll listen if I can.
You guys are kind of stupid.
I think I embarrass her, but it's,
You're welcome. See, my parents don't even listen. They're just like, you're doing a great job. And I'm like, how do you know?
They do too.
How do you know? I'm sure if you listen to the first 5 minutes of every episode, you go, "That's my son."
That's it. That's probably what it is. My parents are like, "Oh shit."
But see, that's the point. Like they've got like a tear going, "That's my son."
Yeah. No. Yeah.
No.
But we're restructuring a little bit. I think, and this is mostly I'll take the brunt of the blame on this one. But I thought too much of this as a business, and it started getting too much about what can we do to make money, and what can I do to better this thing. When in reality, people love it the way that it is, and so, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I kind of lost sight of the fact that the reason this started was just because a few friends wanted to get together and just shoot the shit, and talk about our friendship and bond and talk about our experiences. And because experience is the greatest of teachers. You can be the most scholared person on earth, but if you don't experience anything, you don't know what life is. That sounded great.
That came out of my mouth? Well, yeah. I mean, you can read all the books you want. It's only going to teach you a certain amount. It's exactly what I say to anybody who's like, "What'd you learn in business school?" And I'll say, I learned about some financial accounting stuff, learned about what it means to run a venue because I did sports management.
Sure.
And all the things that go into that. But ultimately, I've learned way more in the 2 years that we've
Time out. You did sports management?
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was just exercise science.
No, so I started sports management. Then that was still when I was a tubby custard, and then when I lost the weight, when I lost the 100 pounds in 14 months, that's when I was like, okay, this working out thing, this bodybuilding thing, it's fun, and I want to help people. I wanted to help people transform their lives, and I think that kind of transformed into what we've got now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I did sports management, and I learned a lot of good stuff. I had an awesome teacher. He was an ex-NFL agent. So
cool.
He handled people's contracts, and he told numerous stories about him meeting Bill Belichick at 2 a.m, having drinks with him, talking about a certain player's contract and trying to renegotiate and stuff like that.
Wow.
So super cool guy. I think him and I had an awesome relationship, especially at the end. But I was like, honestly, I fell in love with working out, and so I transferred. But kind of circling back, like business school only taught me so much.
Sure.
The 2 years that we've been running this, I've learned 10 times more about
Not 2
marketing.
Years yet. Not 2 years yet. Oh, no. I guess it's been 2 years since we started.
Yeah.
Since we started conceptualizing and building. I believe this studio started being built about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. Freaking heck. And now we're thinking about building
nothing.
on?
Nope. Shut up. They don't get to know that. They get to know it when it happens.
But we've made some of the most insane connections.
Well, kind of the segue I wanted to use was like, I think it wasn't just don't take all the brunt. It was it's a the phrase, it takes two to tango. Guess what? That means even if there might be
90%
if there's fault there's
on
still
one side. Yeah.
So it's not all your fault. It's not all one of ours fault. It was a kind of a conjoined thing. But with that being said, I think that's actually a huge issue with people's, not only men's mental health. I think men struggle from it a little bit more because there's this notion of I kind of am judged on what I bring to the table and what I bring to the table professionally, financially.
Yeah.
So we're judged on a different scale.
Yeah.
Not a harder scale, but a different scale than I would say women are.
Yeah. What is that Chris Rock quote? Have you heard of this? He said only women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally. Men are loved for what they can provide.
Yeah.
Which societally, that's true. If you look at society as a whole. Now, if you look at the average Christian household or the average just good-natured household, if you will, that's not true. I think it's an equal partnership or whatever. Ooh, barely missed your phone.
Well,
on the ash.
I almost ashed my phone, but I would even say in Christian households.
Christian households.
Christian
households. Finish the
word, dumbass. But I would say in every household, I think, especially in Christian, I think that temptation comes up a lot of like, for everyone.
What are you doing for me?
What are you doing? What have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
And it's a temptation that everyone goes through.
Yeah, my wife and
men and women.
My wife and I still struggle with that, even after it's 4.5 years of marriage now. Which anybody listening who's been married longer than like, oh, buckle up, dude.
You're only 4 years in. Better hold on to your cheeks.
I had a buddy tell me, he was like, dude, you'd think that the first year of marriage is the hardest, but the 7th year was the hardest for me. I was like, you know what year? And he was like, I'll never forget. I was like, okie dokie. That's interesting.
Yeah.
But there was a whole, I'm not going to go into it. There's a whole other reason why, but whatever. My wife and I talk about it all the time. Of like, we still do this tit for tat thing of like, oh, I put the kids to bed the night before so you can help me tonight. And my wife has to like pull me aside sometimes and be like, dude, it don't work that way. I give and you give. That's all that matters.
Right. And it's got to be the same thing in a business.
100%.
You give. You cannot keep score.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue that I think we fell in was taking ourselves too seriously.
Yo.
And I think that is a key thing that everyone, not just men, but I think in particular men struggle with heavily. And I think that plays a big part into today. You hear people say, oh, there's such a massive epidemic on mental health. And I think there is, but I think it's because people, take themselves way too seriously.
Sure.
Like there's this idea that everyone has to be perfect. I struggle with it hourly. But it's a constant reminder. I have to constantly remind myself, you're not here to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking to myself, you're not here to be perfect.
Yeah.
You're here to be Dan. Dan was never asked to be perfect. Dan was asked to be Dan.
Yeah.
And that's where all of our lives, I personally believe, this is my own opinion, I think a big part of our lives is coming to figure out who we truly are and then acting accordingly. And I think our hearts are in our minds are never at rest the more we're fighting ourselves and the more we run away from ourselves because we're too afraid of being rejected for us being ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, and what was somebody telling? Go ahead. Sorry.
I just kind of tying into kind of what happened, I think, and it was, again, nothing's happened. We're just thinking some things through that definitely need to be altered minutely.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. And I think, and this is, now that we have been in business for 2 years and we've actually made a profit, and which is astronomically rare. Most businesses don't make a profit within the first 5 years, much less 2.
Typically.
But or let's just say whatever profit is made is thrown back into the business. But I think the reality of starting a business is there's going to be that moment. There's going to be the failures, right? But then there's going to be the moments where you succeed incredulously. Incredulously definition. Incredulous. It could work in a manner.
I still want you to throw it up on screen.
Yeah, incredulous. It's not. It won't work.
That's
kind
fine.
of.
Still throw it up.
Okay.
It's great.
But you will hit moments of failure, and then you'll hit moments of regular success, of moments of I can't. But incredulous works. speak because it means to speak of something in disbelief. Like, you will get to a point where you're like, I can't believe what's going on. I can't believe the amount of, like, what this person reached out to us. How many times have we had that conversation where we're like, I can't believe that this is happening right now? When we got our barrel picked, dude. When we met Demetrius, when he was on the podcast, when we got to meet Nick, when we got to meet freaking Ray Mancini at the freaking Hungry Herf, lightweight champion of the world, wasn't he?
I can't remember what weight class he was in, but
it was either lightweight or featherweight.
His nickname was Boom Boom because every time he hit somebody, it sounded like a gunshot. It would
25
boom.
of his wins,
or 23
of his 25 wins were knockouts.
Yep.
That's unbelievable. Boom Boom Mancini,
just a tiny Italian who can hit like a damn truck.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. And then we got to meet Brian of Privada, who loves us. And I mean, Joe Kenny and him being on the podcast 5 times. Right. You know, we got to meet Mike from Investment Whiskey and all the Investment Whiskey guys. We got to meet oh shoot.
You know, you got your job with Infinity Restorations because of this podcast. Now it was a connection. I'm gonna have to cry myself to sleep tonight for that one. You're welcome.
Because that I didn't realize. Mm-hmm. But we got to meet Bill. Bill built our website.
Billy Boy
Potoff. Got to meet him. And then I was in a jam. And then because of our relationship with Bill, he called me and he goes, call my friend Shane, who is now a sponsor of our podcast. And my boss. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just been a consistent level of holy shit, what's happening. And it's without us, not for lack of trying. We've put in a lot of effort. Can you see we built all this, okay? We did all this.
For those of you just listening in a car,
our studio's cool. You should watch YouTube.
I'll be honest. Don't take our word for it. Check it out.
Yeah, exactly.
You make your own opinions. If you don't like it, piss off.
But our studio's cool, and you and I built this with our bare hands. Like, from the ground up. Like, obviously, we didn't put the walls there, but...
You had your house already.
Right. But still, it's just been moment of disbelief and of, holy shit, I can't believe this is happening. And I lost that. I lost that sight because everything, it did start to steamroll, and it did start to snowball, and all the cool things started stacking up one after another. And so I was like, okay, let's do this, and let's try to make money here, and let's, like, all these things. And you guys, like, I'm the vision board, if you will. And you guys are like hold up, wait a minute. That meme, like,
something ain't right.
Wait a minute. Something ain't right. Like, you had to be that voice in my corner who was like, hey, first of all, we're in this together. And I can't believe I lost sight of that. I'm sorry. But at the same time, you had those moments of pulling me back and be like, let's just continue doing what we're doing, because obviously what we're doing is working. And we can shift. We should shift in accordance to what people want to add to the show or who wants to sponsor or whatever. We shouldn't shift who we are to bring in more, because obviously who we are is working.
It's bringing in enough.
100%.
And that's actually today. There was a little business lunch to where a business owner had some interns come in, and he was kind of talking to them and, gave them lunch, actually, like, sat down to get to know these interns. And this dude he runs, I'll just say, a big company.
Yeah. Don't drop names.
And yet he sat down with his interns.
That's awesome.
Intern.
Sorry.
Time to wake up.
Wow.
His intern of a month. Like, they've only been interns for a month. And yet he's sitting down at our country club. You pour as much as you want. I don't care.
Okay, cool.
I drank half of it, so you can...
Not today. He didn't drink half today.
They don't need to know that. They can make whatever conclusions they want. But one of the things he said that one of the interns asked him a question on, like, how did you kind of get things started? What happened? And he goes, you know, there was a phrase when I was real young that really hit hard, and it was, an airplane never makes changes mid-flight, right?
Unless it's like an emergency, but
Even then, they still don't have all the from what I understand, which is I'm talking the ultimate limited perspective. I know nothing about aeronautics. So
you know how to pronounce aeronautics.
From what I can, I'm halfway there. But you don't make changes halfway through the flight. You got to make an emergency landing. Then you start to address the major issues.
Yeah.
But you never do it mid-flight. And so continuing along with the analogy of flight, I mean, when a flight first takes off, right, it's bumpy, it starts to pick up speed, you're bumping down the
runway.
There it is.
Yep.
I wanted to say that, but I don't know why the hell my mind was like, nope, wrong word.
Well, because...
And then I was like,
models walk down
works.
runways, and also airplanes fly off runways. So,
well, I wasn't thinking models. My mind went to driveway and was like, yeah, that sounds right. But so you're going down the runway, you're bumping, you're picking up speed at an incredible rate, and all of a sudden you start to take off, and you start to feel like the pull of the G-force as you're inclining. And then you start to get turbulence. Turbulence is pretty normal.
Sure.
Going up into the air and trying to gain altitude. But then when you get above the clouds, typically it's smooth sailing.
Right.
But when you're up in the clouds, you don't make changes.
Yeah, you're just coasting.
Unless you're starting to slowly change direction.
Yeah.
And then at that point, even the passengers can't feel it.
Yeah.
But you're slowly changing direction if you have to make a turn, or unless it's a sharp turn and the pilot's made a grave mistake on like, oh crap, overshot. But yeah, it's the same thing. Like if you're in the middle of driving a car and you got issues with your car, you pull over and stop. You don't keep driving and then try to make the changes while you're driving. That's impossible.
Yeah.
And so same thing with running a business. Like if you're in the middle of a good run, right, continue pushing forward, continue just smooth sailing. And then listen, there is never an end to the amount of fires that you're going to have to put out, whether in life, running a business, both.
Yeah.
So don't go around looking for fires. Like, granted, a part of life is going around looking for potential fires that could spark up and doing your best to try to limit.
Well, and that's just prudency. Or prudence. Prudence, not prudency. Prudence.
Sure, prudency can work in some sort of sentence, but
I don't think it's a word.
not in that one. Well, damn it, let's make it a word.
Is prudency a word? Ha! It is!
Suck it, YouTube. But that's kind of the same with, like, obviously you want to improve.
Yeah.
Right? You want to continue. This is where I guess the analogy, falls short. But you want to continue to gain altitude, especially if you can. Mm-hmm. And while you're smooth sailing, you want to continue to find ways in order to improve. But that's typically not a major change unless an opportunity arises.
Yeah. I tried to blow a smoke ring. It didn't work.
Yeah, you just blew your smoke in my face.
So all this tracks with... I don't know how it's going to go back to mental health, but it does.
Well, I mean, again, like, people take themselves way too seriously, and that doesn't mean don't. That doesn't mean, like, don't just look at your actions and flip the pendulum the exact opposite way and go, nothing I do or say really matters. Obviously, that's not true at
Correct.
all. But give yourself some leeway.
Yeah.
Give yourself chances to fail, because that's where you're going to learn the most. Not many people sit back and go, oh, we won. What did I do right? Most people end up getting slapped when they lose and go, wow, that hurts. What did I do wrong?
Right.
Because last thing I want to do is get slapped by the backhand.
Right. Well, but to that point, we've been doing. Yeah, my dryer just went off. But to that point, we've been doing whatever we've been doing. Clearly, it's been right, and so there is an extent to which you need to look at your successes and be like, what are we doing right? And we need to continue instead of let's shift and try to make it even better. There's nothing wrong with improving, but if you change too much trying to improve, then you lose what was making you successful in the first place. Mm-hmm. And
especially if you change your intentions with doing something. Mm-hmm. And I think that's more of the major change that, like, is the intentionality behind things. If you're doing something right, now that doesn't mean you can't do something right with the wrong intentions.
Yeah.
So be careful there.
Some of the world's worst decisions were made on the best of intentions.
Oh my gosh, what song is that? There's a metal song I've been listening to, and it talks about how the pathway to hell tends to be paved with the best intentions.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And how, like, you can think that you're doing good and think that you're doing the best, when in reality, you end up looking out and seeing the impact your actions and your words have on other people. Mm. And you can see you've just left a wake of destruction behind you.
Yeah. Well, and it's the typical cliche example, but Hitler thought he had good intentions.
Did he?
Yeah. He thought he was doing good things. He had good intentions for him and his people. And yet...
Whoops.
Yeah. Big whoops. Big oops.
He's just like Michael in the office. He's just...
Big oops. But it does come back to mental health. It's and it does come back to men's mental health. I mean, as men, like you said, Dan, we're. By the way, I'm Adam. He's Dan.
I'm on the wrong podcast.
It comes back to men are born, and I want to say almost like life force written. So like it's written into our DNA to want success and to want to succeed and to want to make people proud and to...
We want respect.
Yeah. And so if you start getting it, it takes an extra... I don't want to say ounce or snippet, but like it takes extra care to take care of your, like, the mental status that you have around that success, because if you let it get to your head, then your success is who you become.
Takes an extra level of dedication.
Yeah. To make sure that you're not crossing that line of my success is who I am.
Or actually, it's a dedication to discipline.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I like that. Take yourself professionally, not seriously.
Yeah, so listen, when someone says, you're going to have to bleep this out because I'm going to send it. When someone says, hey, Dan, you're being fucking stupid. Guess what? Don't take that as, oh, that son of a bitch, I'm going to smack him across the face.
Let me help you pick your teeth up off the floor.
Take it as like, oh, what could I change? What am I being, quote unquote, effing stupid about? How can I change that from being effing stupid to just stupid?
How do we step this up so where it's not so bad?
How do I go from being cross-eyed in both eyes to being cross-eyed in one?
Then you're not cross-eyed. You're just
lazy.
How do I take this from cross-eyed to lazy? It's all balancing. It's all that balancing act. It's one of my favorite quotes that you've ever given on one of our episodes.
Who, me?
Yes, is
Do you
life. Yeah, life is not about getting balanced. It is all about balancing.
Mm-hmm.
It is a constant balancing of your life. There is no moment where you're going to just figure it out, because something's going to fall off the rails if you think you have.
When, for those who didn't hear that episode, I mean, I was partly talking about while I was studying exercise science.
Yes.
They put me in, it was an exercise testing class, which is all about how to like clinically test people and their fitness capabilities, abilities, that kind of stuff, and be able to use that testing to then create a program that is best suited for them in order to help them achieve whatever goals that they have set for themselves.
Right.
And so part of that class was learning how to test people's balance. And I will just tell you, my balance is atrocious. It's garbage.
I said
good
enunciation. Yeah.
Thank you. I have good moments bad. But standing on one leg, I remember vividly my ankle constantly shaking, because what it's doing is it's rapidly adjusting like a teeter-totter that to basically end up at that balance point. But even when I feel like I am balanced on one foot, my foot is still in very micro, meaning small ways. It's still teetering back and forth, remaining in this level of balanced.
Yeah.
It's never a point. It's usually a combination of points. See, bad moment.
But it's a combination of points of balance. And
that equal balanced.
Right.
And so usually your body, life is all about trying to find those points and staying in those points as best as possible. It does not matter how hard you try. There are going to be times in which you are going to fall out. It is regardless.
Yeah.
Like you could try as hard as you can. You're going to end up unbalanced at some point. And then at that point, it's all about trying to get back to that balance point.
Yeah.
Level.
Balance point level.
Balance points, which equal level.
Right. I'm drooling.
Smooth brain. But, and I honestly, I think that's a big way to kind of help with people's mental fortitude. Because you have to have that recognition of, okay, things are going wrong, but they're not going to go wrong forever. I'm going to figure this out. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck in this hopeless mode of just, this is life. This is life for the rest, like, as far as I can see, this is it. But just like a horizon here on the earth, just because that's as far as you can see, and as far as you can see is hell, guess what? The earth curves. There are a lot of points on the earth that you don't see past that point of the horizon that you currently have at that time. If that makes sense.
It does. How difficult is that for you to pull yourself out of that?
Who, me? Depends on how hard I'm getting slapped. Listen, sometimes when my face is like bleeding because I got slapped real hard.
Yeah.
I think it's our sinful nature to get very prideful. It's our sinful nature to get very, to basically sit in this pity of, oh, woe is me. This is it. I'm a victim. When a lot of times it takes someone else going, no, you got to snap out of it.
Yeah.
Like, that's not true. It's just right now. And right now you got to figure out, what does it mean to be the best version of you in this point in time? So that way you can slowly, and it's a lot of times it is slowly, and over an extended period of time, especially the lower you go, the longer amount of time it's probably going to take. But slowly, day by day, week by week, continue to just inch up out of that grave and get back to your balance level. Get back to where you are finally balancing. But it can also be taken to the other extreme, where things are going great, things are going fantastic, right? You're like, oh, this is life. This is amazing. My life is awesome. I'm awesome, right? You start to take pride in a different way. Because sitting in pity is also pride.
Huh.
But then you fling the pendulum the
expand
other way.
on that.
Pity is pride?
Yeah.
You're saying a lot of pride to me, I guess this is just my version of pride, is, oh, my problems are my problems. No one has my problems. I'm alone. This is it. My problems are the worst. When a lot of times what helps me get out of pity, and it's unfortunate that it takes this for me to kind of get out of myself, but is hearing someone else's problems. Hearing what someone else is going through and being like, holy crap, I have no idea what mess I'd be in if I was in that situation.
How would you pull yourself out if you didn't have the comparison?
To be able to basically hear someone else's problems?
Yeah. How would you... How
God.
do you keep... How?
I mean, the only reason why I say that is I don't think... I mean, it depends on, again, the level of lowness or lowlessness that you're in. I think the deeper ones definitely call upon a higher power for you to get out, because ultimately I think it takes God showing you a new perspective of your problems, and I don't think you can really get to that on your own.
But how do you get to the place
of being able to accept that?
Yeah.
I think you got to get real low.
Really?
I think your plane's got to be landed.
Really? Well, like you said, you can't change course.
I think you got to land your plane. You got to, and a lot of times I think God lands your plane and then goes, listen, in order to, this is actually something we kind of talked about on one of our most previous episodes, is God preventing you from taking a shot that wouldn't be good for you. I think God's got to land your plane in order to basically keep you from entering a certain area of life to where it's like, listen, things are going to get way worse if I let you go any further.
Mm-hmm. So it would be better for you to hit rock bottom now than to drag this out, because it'll get worse.
Sometimes.
So rock bottom is not exactly as bottom as you could think.
I don't think it ever is. Look at so many people's success stories.
Yeah.
Drug habits, alcohol problems, which alcohol is a drug, no shit. But like hard illicit drugs, being severely addicted. A lot of times they had to lose a lot of stuff. And what I mean by stuff is a lot of themselves. And basically have people that they love either leave or tell them, listen, it's either you end up getting help or I'm out.
Well, so Dan, how do you handle yourself?
Well, and I do want to preface.
Yeah.
I think there are some, what would you call them, exemplary circumstances?
Sure.
It's working right now. So, extraordinary circumstances in which there are some people that can straight up just pick themselves up by their bootstraps and get back. Like, I remember there was my buddy who was a Marine in college told me about a story who I think he's a pretty infamous Vietnam War vet. Vietnam or Desert Storm or I don't think Korea. Anyway, combat vet, so saw a lot of shit. Mm-hmm. And he came home from service and kind of developed a real serious drug problem. And what he did to get out of it was he took bought a motel room. I'm going to get this wrong, but I want to say it was for 72 hours. Took a motel room, locked himself in it, kept it dark for 72 hours, and just straight up cold turkeyed his drug problems. Came out, never did drugs ever again. So there are some people that, and ultimately I do think God probably helped him.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things in which people could be like, I did this on my own, when God's sitting back going, sure. But ultimately, I think by their standpoint, they didn't go to AA, or they didn't go to therapy. They didn't go to rehab. They just kind of made a decision to stop, and then had the discipline to be able to be consistent in stopping. But I think that's very seldom. I think a lot of times we do need help, and we need help from each other. We need help from some of us. I think there's a lot of us. Again, this is a personal opinion of mine, so this is obviously not even close to being fact. Personal opinion of mine is I think a lot of us don't even need professional help. I think we just need
community,
a different level of community than we currently have now.
No.
Other than social media, other than just typing your problems and your issues on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever social media you use, and just hoping for a certain or a certain number of likes, because that's just going to hit your dopamine and it's not going to change anything.
Yeah.
It's going to make you feel better about your situation for a little bit of time. But I'm sorry, I cut you off. What was your question?
No.
How do I...
Yeah, how do you talk to yourself in those moments? It's like, for me, and I feel like I'm not alone in this.
In the moments of lowlessness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not lowlessness, but lowness. Like,
yeah.
For me, I tend to freeze. So I tend to, and like psychologists call it executive dysfunction. And it is the brain's inability to act due to its state of being overwhelmed. And I tend to freeze, to halt production of any kind. And I will dive into that. And it is, in my mind, nearly impossible to pull my
turn.
to pull myself out. And there have been multiple times where you, or Joseph, where my wife have had to step to the plate and DH for me mentally, because I needed support, and I couldn't even I couldn't even vocalize what I needed. There are times where I am so overwhelmed and overstimulated, and those words are used way too often societally. Oh, I'm overwhelmed. True overwhelming nature is a it's a stalemate of the brain. It's I have the chess pieces, I don't know where to move them.
Would you say it's almost analysis paralysis?
Yes. Yeah. It's paralysis of the, well, again, it goes back to the, executive dysfunction. It goes back to your brain is so done that it can't make a decision. And I'm 34, almost 35, and I still don't know if I could do that just on my own, pull myself out of that. And like humans are built and created upon community. Like God in himself is a community. He's 3 in 1. And so he created us in such a way to where we are built to need and built to thrive on the communion of others.
When I think just a very small sidestep, I think that alone should tell you the utmost importance of community and being together is the fact that God himself is a community of himself.
Yeah.
And yet he's completely perfect and still made us to be in communion with him.
Yeah.
So someone who is already in complete and perfect community or communion with himself created us to be in that community as well, to be in that communion as well.
Yeah.
And so that alone, I think, should tell you that, this is why I don't have social media. I feel like that is a false community.
Yeah.
I think being shut down certain places for over a year, being locked in our homes, taught us that. I think that's ultimately what one of our biggest takeaways of that is how important face-to-face communion with each other is. Being in each other's space, being in each other's company, not just over a screen.
Yeah.
Like it's a false. It's like saying porn is just as good as sex between a husband and a wife.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same outcome, right? I get to see the same person. No, because it's not the same. You're not being in true communion with each other. You're not being in the same company of each other.
Yeah.
And so, and this is why my own personal opinion is there's too many people being prescribed with heavily mind-altering drugs in order to try to stop anxiety, when in reality, I think a lot of times our anxiety is trying to tell us there's something wrong. Either I'm doing something wrong or there's something wrong in my life that needs to change. I think same reason for when someone gets angry, right? Someone gets angry because something's off, something's wrong. And instead of, I think anxiety and anger can be closely, now I'm not a mental expert, but I think anxiety and anger are very closely tied together.
Mm-hmm.
And so, a lot of people get angry when they get anxious.
Yeah.
And that's where I think a lot of these things are just because you have a lack of good community.
Well, there's a side tangent right there because people believe that anger can substitute for courage. And so when you get angry at something, you can have courage towards the things you have anxiety over, but it's not the same thing.
No, because anger is a feeling, courage is an action, typically. Actually, not typically, always. Anger is an emotion. Courage is an action.
Yo.
Sit in your basement and be angry all you want. But until you take action to change, you don't have courage.
Dude, that was unbelievable. That was incredible, man.
Fuck, it wasn't me.
And I love that you give credit to God on things like that. I love that.
Well, it's not me. I've never heard that ever once in my life. It just flew out of my mouth like a burp.
That's it's a verbal burp. It's a verp.
Yeah, just Holy Spirit burp through me. Nice.
He verped through you. That was great. Courage is not a feeling, it's an action. That's insane. But yeah, there's a lot of, and coming from a guy with anger issues, like that's a lot of where I thought my courage came from was my ability to, dude, all right, I'm gonna get a little bit deeper for a second. I had spiritual direction a few days ago. And my spiritual director felt like that the Lord was telling him something about me, and that the main thing that I need to focus on in this season is meekness. is my ability to understand that I have the ability to do so many things, but I need to holster it because it's not always needed to be used. Whether that's courage, whether that's my strength, whether that's physical strength or mental strength or whatever, that this season of life, at least for me, is very, I understand that you know how. You need to let me show you where and how. Because the where will show you how. Like the where will present itself, like where you need to use an ability is what you need to gauge as the thing that shows you how to use that ability. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, and something that just came to my mind is I cannot take credit from this. I did hear this from someone else, but it's perfect. Knowledge and wisdom are very like anger and anxiety. They're very closely tied together, but they're not the same. Well, this way, they're not the same. Well, neither anger and anxiety, but they're not the same. Knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is the understanding that it has nowhere or it has no place in a fruit salad.
Yeah, that's true. Don't put tomatoes in your fruit salad.
Freak.
You freaking idiots.
That was a little, wow, you really hit the gas a
You
little hard
said
there, buddy.
freak.
I said freak. I didn't call him, well, you guys are stupid if you do that. So actually, I like...
Some dude's going to comment and be like, here's my recipe for my fruit salad. It is filled with tomatoes. Suck eggs.
And all of a sudden, the comment back
Go
is...
kick rocks, pal.
Comment is, listen, it doesn't count if you're the only one eating.
Want to make my sugar salad more vegetable-y, so I put tomatoes in it. Cherry tomatoes don't count.
Tomato is a fruit, though, not a vegetable.
I know. Technically based on its molecular makeup, yes.
Do you know a potato is actually a vegetable?
A potato is, yes. Tell us more things.
That's why French fries are the number one top-rated vegetable, at least here in America.
Well, but is it a vegetable? I guess, that's a whole other discussion. Because is it... Actually, I want to talk about corn and how it has no nutritional value whatsoever. You're the exercise science guy.
Corn is an exercise science. That's nutrition. And I only minored in that. All I can say is, listen, you really think something's healthy for you? The fact that your body doesn't break it down in corn?
You can see it in your shit.
Thank you. I was about to say it, and then I kind of like halted, but then you took over and was like, yep, this needs to be said.
Oh, for heaven's sake, dude. That's nothing but sugar.
Uh-huh.
Bumbu rum.
Well, rum is sugar cane. So, yeah.
Yeah, but that's like...
Very good.
Very, very good.
But kind of circling back from
let's
being in shit back to mental health. There's a lot of oversimplification, I think, by our society just to almost not even deal with it, but to just get basically put it in the other room and forget about it.
Dude.
That's what I mean by there is way too many holy shit. There's way too many people being prescribed with mind-altering drugs and way too many people in therapy, which clearly isn't working. Yeah. The fact that they are still as messed up as they are, and yet they've been going to therapy for years.
Yeah.
When it's like, last time I checked, just like a personal trainer, you go see a personal trainer, that personal trainer's job is to teach you how to work out for yourself so that way in 6 to 8 months, you can go work out on your own and you know what the hell you're doing. At least you know enough of what to do that you can walk into any gym. You can select a couple different exercises to hit whatever body part, whatever goal you're trying to hit, and walk out and feel good about yourself.
Well,
that is a personal trainer's job.
It's on the same line, dude. When I was growing up, so I have autism. I've talked about this before. Very high functioning, but I still do.
And since we're the same person, that's where I've been starting to question.
Hang on a minute.
I even asked my brother. So me and my brother Tim were sharing a cigar, and I kind of took a puff and went, Tim, what do you think the chances are that us Keithley kids, and there are 4 of us Keithley kids have autism? He goes, 110%. He goes, we all just fall in a different part of the spectrum. Some of us are a little bit more metal than others.
But when I was growing up, my parents were like, all right, cool. So he was diagnosed with this, blah, 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 which found out in my 30s. And when I say 30s, I mean like 6 months ago that I was diagnosed incorrectly. But I'm not going to go into that. But you have to find someone that not only challenges you. This can go for PT. This can go for personal trainers. This can go for any person who you've hired or you're looking toward to improve you in any way. You have to find someone that challenges you and then teaches you. Mm-hmm. Because there are those people that challenge you in the way of like, they can just be a dick. Like, wow, you're fat, do more curls. Or, wow, go run on the fucking track. Right? That's not helpful.
That also won't help.
It's challenging because they're like, they see something and they're like, well, I'm going to be a dick about it. But I've had counselors like that. Now, counselors haven't, flat out said, there's something fucking wrong with you. But I have had counselors.
Hey, you're stupid. You know that? No
but
shit.
I've had counselors who would just, like the typical, they sit in a room and just wait for me to answer the cliche questions. And then I'd watch them fall asleep waiting for my answers.
Tell me about your problems.
But exactly.
And in their notepad, they have a dick butt drawn. They're just like, all right, $150 next week.
That's right. But then there are those ones that when you sift through, I'll say it in biblical terms, when you've sifted it like wheat, when you've looked for the kernels that are actually the viable ones, right? And you find those people who not only challenge you, but are genuinely interested in you getting better and genuinely interested in you succeeding past the moment that you're in or the season that you're in.
Well, and that's where I would say, again, that analogy of the tomato being in the fruit salad, the difference between knowledge and wisdom is, again, right? Like, a trainer can go take a person who's overweight and go throw them on a treadmill for an hour or 2 hours and be like, this is what it's going to take. When a wise trainer is going to say, listen, I would, unless they're obviously a registered dietitian who can actually prescribe diets.
Yeah.
Because if you're a nutritionist, legally, you're not technically supposed to be prescribing diets. You can, as just like a friend, you can make recommendations. You can say, listen, if I was in your position, I might do something like this or this or this.
I had a nutritionist tell me once, a good snack is an apple and peanut butter.
Depends what your goals are. And it depends on where you're at in your day. It also depends on what you've had before. It depends on what you're planning on after.
And I was like, lady, I'm 50 pounds overweight. I don't think I need an apple and a couple apples and a scoop of peanut butter, dude.
I would say an apple and a protein shake would be a lot better.
Right.
Because peanut butter is fat.
It's fat and sugar.
I think that depends on which peanut butter you get. I mean, you can get some good ones that have.
Well, sure, but if you're talking like Peter Pan, dude, honestly, I'm gonna tell you right now.
Peter Pan peanut butter.
For 5 years straight.
You had apples and peanut butter?
No, my grandmother for Christmas. I love honey roasted peanut butter. And for 5 years straight, my Christmas gift for my grandmother was a jar of honey roasted peanut butter with $100 taped to the lid. that freaking peanut butter would be gone in a week. I would spoon fill that shit.
I thought you were going to say she would literally fill your stocking with honey peanut butter. Just go eat up.
You know what's funny is actually, they are the kind of people that would do that. Like my grandpa and I, which by the way, pray for him. He went unexpectedly blind a couple of years ago, and the doctors can't fix it because they don't understand what's going on. But, like, his relationship with me is like, we'll shake hands when I see him. We'll shake hands, and then we'll whisper in each other, "You fucking idiot." Like my 80-year-old grandfather's like, "Get the hell out of my way, you bastard." Or his favorite is like, "Who the hell let you in here?" Like, I didn't want to see you. And I go, "Well, guess what? You can't see anyway, asshole."
Nice. Got him. That's love, man. I mean, same thing with my grandpa way before he died. Again, I've said this numerous times. When I was 12, he told me, "Dan,
I'm
gonna send it. Dan,
send it again.
If you'd shut the fuck up and you'd open your eyes and ears, you might learn a thing or two."
Yeah. You should get that tattooed on your ass. Just so that your future wife can see it.
He told me to shut my mouth, not my ass. There's a joke in there somewhere.
Type in the comments what the joke is.
But bringing this back.
Yeah.
Same thing with a personal trainer. Same thing with a therapist, a physical therapist. When you have to make a change, sure, you can go by the book and you can tell the person, well, this is probably what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Or you can have the wisdom, which basically means you have a deep level of understanding to where you can go, okay, well, this might be what I think it is, but let's actually dive in.
Yeah.
Let's find the smaller details, and let's try to actually find out if my inclination is right.
Yeah. You know what I'm getting blown away with right now? I just had
Smoke.
I just had the idea, or not the idea, but I had the thought, which thank you, Lord, because I'm sure it was yours. Do you understand that
It was mine.
the Bible doesn't talk about friendship, it talks about brotherhood. It doesn't say bear one another's burdens with your friends. It's bear your brother's burdens. Because there's a difference between it's trying to solidify the difference between a friendly acquaintance and a brother.
Mm-hmm.
And those brothers are the ones that can bear those burdens with you. You're the dude that I can call at 3 a.m. and be like, "Dude, I can't sleep. I'm angry, and I need some opinions, and I need a different opinion of what's going on right now."
And the first thing out of my mouth would be, "Well, I was trying." And then I'd be like, "Well, I'm up. What's going on?"
But you're that guy. Like the other day, I called you. We were talking about some business stuff, and then you could, I guess you could just tell that I wasn't doing well, and you're like, "Are you good?" And I was like, "Nah, not really." And you're like, "Okay, well, I'm at work right now, but I'll call you later. Mm-hmm. Is that okay with you?" And that meant the world to me, because you were like, because not only did you recognize that I needed help, but you were looking to give insight on, hey, I'm going to help in any way that I can. And that's a brother. That's not a friend.
I wasn't even looking to give insight. I was just looking to see what the hell was going on.
You were looking you were looking to support.
To sit with you in it.
Right.
That's what a brother does. A brother's not going to come to you and go, "Listen, this is where you're messing up. This is where you're dumb. This is where you're stupid."
But
a brother's going to go, "What's going on?"
A brother's the kind of person who, I will say, because it's not always a brother, sister, or whatever, like
a real
connection with a human being and a real relationship that you have with someone is like you did the other day. And I'll give this example. We were discussing future business ventures and things, and I kind of went on this tangent of where I saw things going and why I wanted to do certain things and why I wanted to work hard and how hard I've been working. And then after I was done saying that, your words were, "Okay, let me ask you something. Is that your vision or ours?" And that wrecked me. I kid you not, wrecked me for 24 hours. Because I sat with that. And I was like, I hate the fact that he knows And he understood that I was being selfish, but not on purpose. And that's what real help mentally is. That's what real mental help is. It's your community, the community that you surround yourself with, that's willing to say, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to play devil's advocate for you because I care about you that much. So I'm going to ask all these questions. It's going to piss you off. But you need to be asked these questions because you need to. It was something that it's something that my counselor's been teaching me about parenting. Is the greatest way to get a child to understand what their actions are doing is to ask them what they're doing. It's not to try to be proactive towards the action, or not proactive. It's not to be reactive towards the action. It's to be proactive in. And he told me even about my 3-year-old. He was like, if your kid is acting this way, ask them one question. Where do you see this going? How do you think this is going to end for you? Because it turns their actions on themselves. It gets them to look inward.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what that question that you asked me did. Okay, all these things that you had planned and all these things that you were thinking of and all these ideas that you had, were they yours? Or did you discuss them with us? And that's such a beautiful thing in the community that we are called to be a part of. You're called to find people in your life who challenge you in such a way that, like, I'm not going to see it your way. I'm not going to be on your phone, your speed dial. Let's take it back to the early 2000s for a second and you know, before.
There still is a speed dial. It's just called favorites.
Right. But like, and then you get, and then my mind immediately goes to, like, you remember the MySpace top 8? Like your top 8 friends on MySpace?
MySpace was actually right. I think I was like just old enough to know what it is and to know what's going on, but not to have it.
There was the top 8 friends on MySpace. And my friends and I took it so seriously. I remember getting into fights with people in school. Why am I not in your top 8 friends? What the hell's wrong with you? You know, those things. But like, it's this, you got to surround yourself with people who are going to look at you and say, I don't see the world the same as you do, and I don't see your situation as the same as you do. But so I'm going to challenge you in that situation and say, why didn't you look at it this way? Or why not try to look at it from a different perspective?
Can I actually challenge you on that?
Yeah.
I would actually say I think the best way to look at it is go, okay, help me see it from your perspective. And then after I come to see your side of things, can you listen to mine and come to know mine?
Yeah.
And then let's find a compromise. Let's find common ground. That's how all discussions should go. Especially between two people who disagree.
Yeah.
And this is where it calls you as the individual to be upfront, but also a good communicator, because you also have to know why you're feeling a certain way. Why are you thinking a certain way? Like, right. You have to be able to sit back and go, why do I think this? Mm-hmm. Why am I thinking this way? Why do I want this? Why do I not want this? Right. And then you have to be able to communicate that well enough to where the other person can come to understand.
Yeah.
But the reason why I say I think it's crucial to do it the way that I said just previously is because me as the individual who's listening, I'm not trying to take anything from you, but instead, because again, you're showing me your side of the dial. You're showing me your side.
Vulnerability is being placed center stage.
Yes, but it's more of, let me come to know you first.
Yeah.
Because I know myself.
Yeah.
I don't need, I know myself, at least, to
an extent.
I know myself as best I can right now.
Mm-hmm.
So then let me come to know this person and why he or she is thinking or saying these things. So that way then I can come to know them. And then hopefully, if it's a good enough relationship, they'll then listen to my side.
Yeah.
but I'm going to put the other person first. So that way they can have the floor. That way I can come to know them. And then not only that, if I come to know them and I already know my point of view and why I believe it and why I stand by it, I can then maybe even as they're talking, try to find that common ground before I even say my side. And then maybe I can present the common ground and then state, this is why. It's because I believe X, Y, Z, because I'm thinking, or I would like X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
That's actually something I learned in sports business management, was the art of negotiation.
Yeah.
Let the other person have the ball in their court, and then almost kind of react based on theirs. But the whole goal of negotiation, which our society has lost its way completely, is let's find a way in which we both win.
Yeah.
Nowadays, everything is I'm going to win, which means there's one loser, which means there's someone going home feeling pretty shitty.
Yeah.
Which also means there's a less likely chance that you're going to get something later down the line. And that sounds selfish, but what I mean is there's less chance of you being able to do business with each other later down the line.
Yeah.
Because that person knows that every time you step foot in the room, your whole goal is to win.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think that, wrapping this all the way around, I think a lot of that has, and this is why I said, a lot of people take themselves too seriously. Part of that is they're thinking of themselves way too much. Start thinking about the other people in their life. Get your mind off yourself. Unless you are actively trying to change, then yes. Start thinking about the things that you're doing, the things you're saying, the things, your deeply held beliefs, and start asking, why do I believe this? Why do I think this? Why am I saying this?
Yeah.
What is the outcome I'm searching for out of my words, out of my actions?
Yeah.
And I think outside of that, start thinking of other people. Why are they saying what they're saying? Why are they doing what they're doing? Come to know them. Put them before you. Don't be a dick. It is way harder in actions than it is to just say it. Or it's easier said than done. That's what I was looking for.
There you go. Yeah. I love you, pal.
I love you too. I don't love you. I don't know you.
We
That'd
are
be weird.
2/3 of the Bourbonists. We have
Me.
Adam.
You pointed at me. What
I
the
did.
hell?
I
I'm
did.
not Adam. I'm Adam today.
I'm Adam.
I'm Dan.
Thanks for joining us at the table. We'll see you next time.
Sure.